into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here?
Hey everybody, how's it going? Wednesday night, which means packed. Podcasting for all coming together. It is the first Wednesday of the month, so that means that it's one of my favorite days of the month. I get to spend a little bit of time with this lovely lady. I'd like to bring on Mrs. Stephanie Samos. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm doing well, Zach. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I think that we've got so much going on this month with two wonderful organizations. One that is dearly close to your heart, and I'm excited to be introducing them and talking about what. A couple things that people don't really know a lot about, and that's one of the great things about what we're doing here is trying to let people know, hey, this is here, this is a thing, let's take and support it. So Stephanie, why don't you go on ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get rolling.
Yeah, sounds good. And to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Zach, I, as a cause entrepreneur with One Hope, love using this platform to share about things like Pandas Network and medical illnesses that people aren't, even doctors a lot of times aren't aware of. So I'm really, really excited to have Diana here with Pandas Network. And I think it's going to be a really great show because Daniel's here as well with Pieces of Me Foundation. So let's get it rolling.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, and I'm excited to have Daniel explain exactly what Pieces of Me is, because Pieces of Me is a little like what we do as a cause entrepreneur and community pay it forward. They're they're right there as well, because they take and they promote wonderful programs like Pandas Network. So I mean, I think this is going to be great. So we're going to get it started off by introducing you to the president and the founder of Pandas Network, and it's Diana Pullman. How are you doing, Diana?
Hi, I am doing good. Nice to meet you, and thank you for inviting me. Hi,
You know what? Stephanie, when Stephanie told me how important your organization was, and she was like, I can invite Diana. I'm like going, hey, let's try it. Let's see if she does it. And then next thing I know, we're talking and everything's going. And Stephanie and I have talked many times about her son. We've had a couple other people on who have dealing with caregivers,
special needs causes, and caregivers.
Yeah. Right. And so, and even parents that are caregivers. And so, it's always something that's really special when it's personal to one of us. And so we're excited to learn more about you. But we've also got another guest, and it's Daniel Hodges, who founded piecesofme.org. How are you doing, Daniel?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for coming and joining us, and we're really hoping that we can kick off May in a very, very special way and start bringing some introductions to you guys, to people who don't know about what you guys have going on. Diana, we're going to start with you tonight, and please tell us about Pandas, and tell us exactly why you started the organization.
Mm-hmm. So people are clear. Pandas is spelled like the panda bear, and it's a name that a doctor coined for an illness that attacks usually little children when they're about between the ages of 4 and 7 years old, with sudden onset of acute neuropsychiatric symptoms. And they begin from an infection. So this doctor at the National Institute of Health in about 1986 noticed about 15 children in the Long Island, Rhode Island region on the East Coast Bunch of little kids flipped out overnight with psychiatric symptoms, movement disorders, aggression, anxiety. And she coined the phrase with other researchers around 1986, this term, pediatric acute neuropsychiatric disease associated with strep throat. So my son was born in year 2000. Garrett was in 2007. He became afflicted with a strep throat infection that wouldn't go away. And he had a complete personality change. And my father used to be chief of pediatrics at Stanford University. So I thought I knew just about everything about I thought I knew a lot about pediatric medicine because I've been around it. But his colleagues, my father had passed away, but all of his colleagues said, we don't know why your little boy is acting so behaviorally different. And they were afraid too, just regular smart doctors. And so I started to try to figure out what was going on with him. So long story short, we figured out that his brain was being attacked by the strep throat, the autoimmune allergic reaction to strep. And I thought once we figured that out, everything would be fine. We'd give him antibiotics and we'd be in and we'd be out. But the internet kind of was born in 2007 too. I live in Silicon Valley by Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg is here, for better or worse, he's here. And pretty soon I just put up a little blog. One of the doctors encouraged me to put up a blog and see if there's any other kid besides my son that might have an onset like that. And much to our horror, within 30 days, we had 100 families coming to this blog saying, oh my God, it's not strep, my child, it's pneumonia, it's the flu, it's chicken pox. So I ended up flying to the National Institute of Health and meeting with a bunch of doctors, and we all got pretty nervous. And we realized that a lot of kids that were being misdiagnosed with autism or Tourette's or psychiatric disorders and were being put in institutions, were just having an untreated infection that was attacking their brain. So fast forward 15 years with my son, and my daughter also got sick shortly after my son. We started to realize that there was a genetic frailty, most likely, that some kids just are super allergic to some types of infections, and it creates a misdirected response and attacks the brain. So with treatment with longer course of antibiotics, with oral steroids, sometimes with a blood product called intravenous immunoglobulin, plasmapheresis, removing and cleaning the blood, we can get the kids back to a steady state. So I just, I thought I'd be in and out of it in a year, and now it's been almost, my kids are fine now, but sadly, the kids just keep coming. We have about 10,000 people visiting our website every month. We now have organizations in many countries across the world. And I was just contacted by the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, where they're having an outbreak of this. Probably, we're not sure if it's from COVID. And they're very concerned about a lot of the children in Norway and Sweden right now. So we have a national interest, but the research and funding is difficult to come by, and the parents really struggle. So Pandas Network supports the moms in particular, because the kids are really behaviorally regressed for usually up to a year. What do you think, Stephanie? At least?
Yeah, I feel like it took us several months to get out of that initial flare.
Yeah, it's really, really scary. So we support, I talk to parents, like after I talk to you guys, I have a call with a family at 7:30 at night, and we have volunteers that help other families that call. We get at least 100 inquiries per month. I have a call with a family from Greece and in South Africa the next day, but they just keep coming. So we have a lot of doctors on our website that are trying to help now, but the children have outpaced the capacity of the doctors. So we're not sure what we're going to do. So people like Stephanie, keep helping us raise money, and we have conferences, and we're trying to educate doctors as fast as we can. So anyways, does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. And just for the people who didn't pick up the coyness there, Stephanie, you are personally affected. Your children are personally also affected with pandas, correct?
Correct. And I would say, above all, Pandas Network, their resources, their community, the other moms, they've helped and supported more than anything else along our journey. And truthfully, the occasional phone call from Diana just checking in to see how we're doing means like the world, you know? So I'm happy to continue to support and spread the word, because I do think that a lot of medical professionals and parents just don't know where to turn. If the pediatrician says, everything's fine, they take that and they don't pursue anymore, and it could
That's true.
get worse pretty quickly. So
The biggest thing that we've been working on that we can finally report to you, we're really happy about, was doctors didn't believe that strep throat bacteria in particular. We decided from a research angle, because we had like $5 million, that was it, from national government money. They did, since it's a rare disease, relatively rare. We say 1 in 200 children have this, which to me is not rare, but apparently it is. And so we had $5 million essentially, and we decided to just focus on strep throat bacteria. How can it open the brain and not kill you? If you get an infection in your brain, you can die from that. How can an autoimmune process not injure you, but torment your brain? So we finally figured that research out with Columbia University. It was just published, and people can see on our website under events, we're having a webinar to talk about this research next Thursday on May 11th. And so we'll start being able to educate doctors about this research. And I think that'll really help doctors feel less afraid to treat. They didn't believe that an infection could torment somebody and not cause them to die. So anyways, we're really happy about that. And the last thing I'll just say is I've persisted for 15 years because I wanted to see if the children, when they became adults, if it would stop, if the illness would stop. And I would say there's a 50-50 chance. I followed 200 children now for 15 years with some researchers, and about half of the children are getting sick again when they're getting older. So we need insurance coverage, and we're working on that so that kids can get lifelong treatment if they need it.
I got a really interesting question. In my mind, at least, it's interesting because as a child, I had strep throat all the time. Why? What is it that causes certain kids to get it and others to not?
That's a great question. We're not quite sure. We think it has to do with genetics. So the families that have pandas tend to be to have autoimmune diseases from mommy or daddy, or grandma or grandpa had a disease called rheumatic fever that was very deadly, strep, right? So it seems to be like an allergy. Some people are super allergic to peanuts. Some people are super allergic to grass. We just seem to not be able to handle strep well, and apparently other infections as well. So there's this whole new field of medicine that has started from our beautiful children. I'm happy, but I'm not happy, called the study of many forms of autoimmune encephalitis. Encephalitis is infection to the brain. So there seems to be like probably about 1 to 2% of the population gets, well, I'll say about 1% of the population can get autoimmune encephalitis. So an allergic reaction to, could be thyroid, it could be thyroid disease, it could be a benign tumor on your chest or in your ovaries for women, or can create this autoimmune reaction that attacks the brain. It's a whole new field of medicine. But most of the people have an autoimmune disease, or the mommy or the daddy does. And then they're allergic to some aspect of these infections.
Along with you being contacted by the people from across the pond, there comes some good news with that as well, because they're going to be working with some of your partner, some of the people that you've been working with, right? Didn't you and I discuss that there's going to be some research that's going to be shared, and hopefully it's going to help?
Right. Yeah. That research we're going to broadcast it May 11th. It'll be published in a major journal. We're not sure. It's pending approval right now, but it's with Columbia University and Yale. They've done this work together. And I think it'll begin to be shared internationally. I think it'll create a big resurgence of interest. And the last thing I'll say, ironically, for us, the pandemic helped increase awareness about the illness. When this paper is published and it's begun to be shared in journals and in lecture halls and things like that, the parallels between long haul COVID, people who are suffering pretty badly from long haul COVID, and PANDAS, how it attacks the brain and the immune system is quite similar. So yeah, we're excited. I think that we're going to really have a lot of breakthroughs in the next decade. I hope that I am not necessary in 10 years. I'll be 70 in 10 years. So I want to retire and not do this anymore. So.
Man, you know what they say, 70 is the new 50. So, you know,
You
I mean,
think?
you're doing just fine.
Oh, no.
You guys have been doing some remarkable things and have some remarkable results, but it's not inexpensive for the children, is it? Or for the families?
No, I mean, Stephanie could speak to that too. Like for my children were very acute in their onset. Some children are less acute than others. Like my son was so confused, almost like a person with dementia or Huntington's disease or Alzheimer's. He couldn't understand up from down, and he would try to run out in the front of cars or tried to climb the roof to get in the front door. I mean, he was completely confused at 7 years old. And same with my daughter when she was 7. So for us, we had to move quickly and do intravenous immunoglobulin, and that for each of the children, we had to do it twice. So it was, 10 grand for each infusion, and then you pay for the nurse. And anyways, we had to sell our home and a lot of things to take care of it. So it's out of pocket. It was about $100,000. Yeah.
What are and this is, unfortunately, this is just something that more people are being diagnosed with it, right? I mean,
sadly, yeah. The traffic to our website never stops.
Is this one of those things that kind of like, and I don't want to sound really ignorant here, but back when I was young, a kid was acting up, he was a pain in the butt. Now we've got a name for that, and it's called autism. There's
Is this a new thing or an old thing?
Yeah. Was it misdiagnosed before? Was it something that parents were seeing before and they just weren't recognizing it because nobody had heard about it?
That's a good point because, partly that, yes. I think a lot of children that we thought were acting out just had this syndrome for sure. And we also think, unfortunately, that it's increasing. We think that some of the bacteria, because of global warming, I don't know, I'm not an infectious disease expert, but we do think that the veracity of the infectious processes is more intense. So it was happening before, but we think it's happening a lot more than it was. So when I spoke to the Karolinska Institute from Sweden, they were afraid.
Yeah.
And they said, we've never seen, these are 70-year-old experts. They've seen a lot of things in their life. They said, we've never seen anything like this. And it was happening before, but not with the frequency and with the intensity. So it's kind of like global warming. It's not good.
Is it Is it really kind of one of those things that, I mean, somebody can take and look at it and say, hey, thank God somebody's finally starting to pay attention to this, and we're finally starting to get the diagnoses for these things so we can start researching them and we can start doing better? Or is this just one of those things that it's not happening fast enough?
It's not happening fast enough. And the National Institute of Health, we just met with one of the heads of the genetic and rare disease division of the National Institute of Health. And he said, until I see this new research, we're not giving you 1 penny more of funding. So we've had to fight for the last 15 years to get the funding. We're hoping this new research will open the floodgates, but we have to have a formal meeting with them.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then, and this is something that is just frustrating. They say that they're not going to give you a penny more until they see the research and everything. Yet without the money, it's really hard to do the research.
Well, that's why the guys at Columbia University and Yale, they were my neighbors here in Palo Alto. I knew that God, I hope you don't mind me using the term, put me right next to Stanford with these guys where they were my neighbors. They were postdoctoral students getting their PhDs, and they watched what was happening. And they are young men in their late 40s now. Since it's been 15 years, they were in their 30s, neuroscientists, and they said, we'll study this and we'll commit to it. So they've spent their personal time, these guys at Columbia and Yale, just working to keep it going on a shoestring budget. $5 million goes really fast in 15 years.
Yeah.
But they did it. So yeah, it's been a fight, but a bunch of the doctors have stayed together with these two young men that are neuroscientists, like killing mice and looking at microbes and microscopes for many years to figure this out. So we have about 100 doctors that are extremely committed and focused. I think we'll win. I mean, the evidence is in now, but I had to stay put until they finished this research. They're it. That's it.
I don't want to bring up too much about our meeting the other day, but the one thing that I noticed about you is how passionate you are about this. And I know when we talked, it was hard for me to be so many states away, because I wish I could just take and I could have given you a hug, because you really looked like, when we were talking, you were just in need of a hug, because
really?
It's so
yeah, I am. Well, I'm pretty white. It's been
times.
It's been a decade. It's been rough.
So, but Stephanie, why don't you do me a favor and why don't you tell us what are some of the things that Pandas Network has done for you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Diana, as a parent yourself, coming from a parent, I don't know how you've done the parent side and the side that you're on. You're just incredible with what you're doing. And thank you. Gosh, Diana touched on a lot of things. We had a very acute onset with my oldest. My younger two were more gradual and not that overnight switch, that's often spoken about. It's been a journey. Pandas Network provides resources. They connect other families. Social media has been incredible with connecting with other parents that are going through, and when they tell you their story, it sounds like they're living in your house, because you can only go to so many doctors with your child. I mean, I remember there was a time when I was like, I don't know if he's having absent seizures. Something neurological is happening. I don't know what is going on. I am scared to put him to bed. I remember calling the pediatrician's office and going, I'm scared to put him to sleep because I don't know what's going on in there, and he was sick and tired of getting phone calls from me. We were in the office all the time. He didn't know where to send me anymore. But there's only so many times you can go and have him expedite to a specialist for them to tell you that nothing's wrong. And then you see the report and it's like, you know, believing that, not seeing the child before the abrupt onset, that there was probably something along the lines of autism or something earlier on than that. And I'm thankful, you know, for the preschool that I had my kids in. His teacher, who had him 2 school years in a row. This happened the second school year that he was with Miss Debbie, who was a godsend at the time. She has been working with kids over 30 years, never saw that drastic of a change in a child. I can tell you the day mid-January that it happened 7.5 years ago, you know, where I put him to bed, one kid, and he woke up a different kid.
Yeah.
Crazy. And she was by my side. Every doctor's appointment, call me after the doctor. I want to hear what he said. And she would be the one to say, no, Steph, you have to keep going. You need to find somebody else. You need to keep going. You know, there's only so many times a doctor can tell a parent, you know, everything's fine. And you start to believe it, you know, you kind of get into your own head. And with the things that you're explaining to the doctors that are going on, they probably start to wonder if it's you that has the problem, you know. I remember asking the school to take a journal and just keep notes. So it wasn't just from a parent's perspective, but also from like the educators. And so that's kind of been our journey. We are in a different place now, thank goodness. Not 100%, but every day, you know, I'm just thankful for the progress that we've made. And truly, Diana, I'm so glad we reconnected recently, because I was like, you need to be on this show so we can tell more people about this. You know,
well, thank you. And One Hope Wine, your fundraiser has been really fun and has raised quite a bit of money to help us keep our, you know, our website going and our conferences going. You know, I really appreciate your support and not deserting us. You know, lots of times parents, their kids get better and they move on, and you've really been loyal, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I was gonna say really quick, Stephanie, what you were articulating that I didn't do very well is that the psychiatrists who understand child development are arguing, have been defending, many of them, not all of them, defending against the immunologists or the neurologists who say we can't find anything in the blood. And the psychiatrists and the psychologists and social workers have been saying, you gotta keep looking. Children don't change overnight. So these people in the psych field and the psychology field and sociology field, school teachers, have really encouraged the researchers to keep going, the neuroscientists. So it's been a battle between two styles of medicine, you know?
Yeah, you know, ladies, I just got to commend you because, you know, as a you know, Stephanie, you know, we've taken in a foster son with autism, and I've never dealt with anything like this before. And so it's a completely different world for me, not knowing anything about a child that has different needs. You know, my kids, I always tell people all the time, you know, I had two sons before that, yeah, they could be a pain in the ass sometimes, but you know, this one has a reason for being a pain in the ass every once in a while. And you know, he's got different needs. And so it's weird when you come at it and you just, and Stephanie, like you said, there's times that you feel like you're being defeated because you got people telling you, well, you know, they feel like they're degrading you on what you're doing. And it's like, all I'm trying to do is raise this child.
Well, and you know, Daniel, your next guest, could speak to this, but having resources, that's what we've worked on for the last 15 years. Like I have a stack. Well, this is only 3 books. We have about 15 different books to help parents and educators handle the children. So learning to help children that become disabled mentally, maybe permanently, a few of them do, or helping the parents not feel completely lonely and scared and isolated. That's the hardest part. I think the mothers in particular give up their jobs a lot and to take care of the child, and they become very, very isolated. I certainly did.
Yeah.
And so having resources like Daniel, I don't know everything Daniel's going to talk about, but having resources, so it's a lifeline.
Yeah, Daniel, why don't we go on ahead and bring you in right here, and why don't you go on ahead and give us a little bit of a rundown on Pieces of Me?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I was born blind and I have a connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos as well, which took until I was in my 30s to get diagnosed. And so I can empathize on with so much of what has already been discussed tonight. Even though it's a different condition, so many of the experiences are common. Everything from the dismissal from the medical community to, hoping that Google actually does something productive when you're searching for resources, because, you're certainly not going to get all the information you need from the medical staff. And so a few years ago, I was hanging out with my cousin who had recently had a child with an unexpected limb difference, and she had run into the same thing. They had been completely blindsided, as it were, at the hospital by the limb difference, and had no useful information to share with Christy. And I said, this is happening all over the place. It's happening regardless of what condition or disability you might be dealing with. It's a common thread. And I said, okay, cuz we can do something about this. Would you like to start a nonprofit? And she said, okay, sure. And so I was in between my first and second year of law school at that point. Neither one of us had money to throw into this. So we literally bootstrapped it with crowdfunding, set the thing up by night as I was finishing up my law degree, and took care of our own, chronic pain and other stuff. And we named it Pieces of Me, spelling it PEACES, to reinforce the point that people with disabilities and chronic illnesses are not broken. Yeah, there's some things we have to deal with, but by finding who we are and what pathway to success is best for us, there's a level of actual peace that comes from that, and then eventually broadening that into us saying, look, there's a lot of contention out there within the accessibility space. There's a lot of battles going on between advocacy organizations and businesses, and we are trying to cut through that and show that access and inclusion are benefits, not just for us, but for everybody, and that they actually lead to greater profitability, greater inclusion in a meaningful way, greater cohesion, and that it doesn't have to be accomplished by burning something to the ground. We can instead bring people together and share solutions. So, an example would be, as Diana already mentioned, if you're diagnosed with a rare disease, it's really hard to find a community of people who share that experience. So we view our role as helping people find the resources, the network, the community they need that can share that experience. But then we try to take it further as well. If you have a child with pandas, for instance, you've learned a lot about navigating the healthcare system. You've learned a lot about advocating for your child. And many of those lessons are just as applicable for a parent with a child who has a completely unrelated condition, who is trying to figure out, how do I deal with the microaggressions that come from being dismissed by the medical staff? How do I broaden the conversation so that when I bring my insights in, I'm not being dismissed out of hand, but we're having a better conversation? Diana, Stephanie can teach people that based on their own experience, as can I, as guy who's dealt with so much of the stuff myself and with my kids, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same condition. So we're trying to build a community where insights are shared, where new insights are created by looking at things through the lens of, okay, here's some common experiences. What can we learn from this? How can we take this knowledge and expand it so that we're not stuck in the same vicious circle talking about things that we were talking about 20 years ago, but we're actually moving the conversation forward.
That sounds wonderful. I
The
want to know what you do. That sounds really great.
the truth about all this is one of the worst things for people out there is just not knowing.
Yeah.
And feeling like they're alone, because one of the things that we discuss quite often is, look, as advanced as we've become, and as many people as there's been in the history of the world, there's very few things that somebody else has not gone through. But with what you're doing, Diana, you're giving them, and you as well, Daniel, you guys are giving them a pathway to understand it a little bit better, and they can cross that one bridge by visiting with you, and they can learn a little bit more so they can get to another bridge and gap that bridge so another person can cross.
Yeah, and let me share a couple of quick stories with you. The first is I missed out on grades 7 through 11, full stop. I was supposed to be homeschooled, but my parents couldn't find resources that were accessible for me that didn't require me to do things with my eye. I just couldn't do anymore. And no one said, hey, every state in the union has a school for the blind.
No one said that?
Nope. Nobody,
Jeez.
white canes, Braille, any of that. So I didn't have access to any of that until I was a few months shy of 18. And I don't blame my parents for it. They did what they could, but it was an obvious flaw in the system. And so, yeah, somehow I made it into and through college and into and through law school. And I count myself very blessed to have made it. But I can't escape the reality that right now, there are parents fighting right now for their children to be able to access, say, Braille instead of large print. There are parents out there who are being told, like mine were, oh, your kid has this disability. All they're ever going to be able to do is cane chairs, like mine were. That's what I was supposed to do when I was a teenager, is just concede that I was meant for manual labor. And the other thing that I think we do, and we're learning to do so well, is we're trying to draw people who are not themselves impacted, employers, allies, family members, into the conversation, break the stigma so that we can talk about difficult things, because that's where real understanding comes. And an example of this is several weeks ago, I was sitting down talking with one of my friends who's a couple of decades older than I am. And we've known each other for a while. And he said, Dan, I've seen you do all this stuff. I know you could do technology and whatever, but I don't think I'd hire you or any other blind person to build a house. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. Because I happen to know blind people who are really good with power tools and really good with design and
wow.
do it. And so I said, okay, tell me more what you think has led you to that conclusion, and let's break it down together. And by the time this exchange had taken place over the next several minutes, he said, I'd still have to see it to get it and believe it, but I'd be willing to see it. I'd be willing to change my mind. And to me, as somebody who spent most of my adult life in some of your hardcore advocacy organizations that was always looking for a fight, to say, wait a minute, I I had a choice. I could have jumped down his throat and said, "You're an ableist and you're closed-minded and all these things," or I had a choice to draw him in with genuine curiosity and kindness and have him share his thoughts with me so that we could dispel them together. I am firmly convinced that the latter is what's going to get us to greater access, greater inclusion, and making sure every person and every family has the support they need without feeling like they're out.
Daniel should work at the White House.
You know, Daniel, I'll actually second that. I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting last week where they were talking about what my foster son can do and what he's going to do and what his future looks like. And there were all these restrictions that were put on him. And I'm sitting there and I looked at him and I said, "Why are we putting restrictions on him?" "Well, this is what he's testing." And I'm like, "So your tests have never messed up." I said, "You know, if you're doing anything, you're giving a kid an excuse, you're giving a kid a reason why he doesn't have to try that hard because nobody's expecting anything from him." And let's challenge them.
Let's be honest. Most humans live up or down to our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of life. Disability does not necessarily change that. And so you're right. The test obviously can be wrong. And to the extent that the test might be right, like you said, how much of that's going to be actual limitations on his ability that are intrinsic versus things that are internalized? Oh, everybody I love says I can't accomplish anything. Therefore, they must be right. Guess what? I've been there. I'm still fighting my way out of that bag. So, yeah, there are some things that are beyond any of our abilities as human. None of us can do everything. But it's so true that many of the things we assume cannot be done are just that. They're assumptions that are based off of our own perceptions, our own biases, and may or may not have any grounding in fact.
Very inspirational.
Yeah, I just, you know, Stephanie, you said it right as we were about ready to go on air. You know, this could be one of the more impactful because this is one of those, you know, this is like the Hollywood squares right now of people who all we want to do is help each other know more, you know, and help everyone know more because there's so much. Look, as you were talking about, Diana, this isn't something that, you know, there's not ever a kid that's pandas 24 hours a day, are there? They fluctuate.
You know, that's really, you're the first person who's ever said that to me. I think the mothers feel so much shame because the children are behaviorally so different sometimes, that we feel like it's 24/7, but no, you're right. The kids aren't 24/7. They struggle a lot, but they still feel love. They still want to be a good boy or a good girl. And then they do something bad. They don't know why their brain changed like that. And then they can be shamed. Yeah, it's a strange cycle. So the more we can dispel myths, you're right. That's a really good motto. I like that. A child is not 24/7 panda. So you're really literally the first person who's ever said that to me.
It just, you know, I know that you and we were talking about an incident where you saw improvement in a child, and then there would be an incident. There would be a reaction, and which kind of gets you thinking that everything is going the right way, and then all of a sudden there's that incident, and you're going, okay, there's still reality.
Well, like Stephanie was talking about, yeah. So the mom gets very, very scared because our job as human beings is to try to move forward, and then we try to influence somebody and then they do something wacko again. Yeah, it's really stressful as the child's healing.
So, Diana, I'm going to ask you first. And what I always preface this by saying we know that money is king. Okay, we know that money is one of the reasons why we're here today is to raise money. What are some of the other things that the people who are watching this, the people who are listening to this, what are some other things that they can do to help out Pandas Network?
Just clicking on the website or Googling the word pandas and pans and being aware of it. If everybody knew a little tiny bit about it, when they heard a story about Johnny down the street, changing overnight, they could mention it to their neighbor. They could talk to their principals about it. Grandparents are some of the best advocates because they are alone a lot and they have time to read and they can educate teachers and legislators about it. And really just talking. It's wonderful. That's why the internet's so beautiful. But people can help just by talking about it at their church, talking about it in their book groups with other women at school, the guys at the Lions Club or whatever it's called. Is that what they're called? Not the Lions Club. What's it called? The men's clubs, the hunting clubs and stuff like that. They can just talk about it. When word gets around, it will increase awareness and then acceptance, and insurance companies eventually will cover costs and children will get treatment quickly. And then they're better in 3 months instead of 3 years.
Well,
yeah,
we will do everything that we can do to make sure that, we're going to raise awareness, because this is, like you said, look, if people don't know, they can't support. If people don't know what's going on, they can't help.
I was just going to say, we have had, I haven't done this, but other parents have gone to legislators in their states and had enforced insurance coverage for the children. And we're just starting that process in California. It's only 12 states in the union. And what we're seeing that cover it for insurance for pandas treatment. And in each of those states where there is coverage, the insurance companies keep getting out of it or sidestepping the coverage. So the more people talk about it, any good lawyers, we would love to talk to to help us push it through.
Yeah, it's just kind of a damn shame that, I always tell people, look, insurance companies don't become billion-dollar operations by giving away money to everybody who needs it. So, they're going to try to find any way out of it. But Diana, I want to thank you very much for joining us. Daniel, let me ask you the same question.
Yeah, so I would say the baseline is we're looking for people to be part of the virtual community. So a great way to do that is, following or joining our social groups. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And we're always looking for volunteers. So some of the easier ways to do that, if you have a story that you want to share, great. If you have some resources that you think would be beneficial to others, let us know. And then there's a link to my personal calendar, last I checked, on our website, which is pieces, PEACES of me.org. And you can also find me at Daniel Hodges JD on LinkedIn. And I would love to talk with whoever has a question, wants to share ideas, whatever. And this extends to whether you're, like Diana was saying, a social club, an employer, a healthcare team, whatever it is. The standing offer is, if you would like for me or somebody from the team to create a roundtable, confidential roundtable, where we sit down, we say, look, what happens here stays here. We're going to take whatever questions you have about disability, accessibility, inclusion, whatever, and I'm going to start off assuming and knowing that if you're here, your heart's in the right place. So don't feel like you have to walk on eggshells. If it comes out indelicate, so what? Let's figure out what your questions are and let's talk through them and let's bust some myths. So please reach out and we'll find a way to get you on your way.
Well, I'm going to contact you. So you got one person. Hey, I mean, you're very cool. I like you. I like your premise. Yeah.
Well, I do. I think this is fantastic, and I love the fact that you two are excited to work together, and I know that we're all in conversations on how we can help each other. So now comes the point of the show where we bring on the goddess of the grape, and we're going to allow her to tell us about her wonderful program, which is One Hope Wines. Stephanie, why don't you take it away?
Thank you. I always giggle when you introduce me that way. But I love my official title. Thank you. Hi, everyone. If you are watching for the first time, I hope that it's not the first time, but if you're just catching us for the first time, my name is Stephanie Simoes, and I have been a cause entrepreneur with One Hope for a couple of years now. What that means is I basically raise money through wine for really incredible causes, like the two causes that we just highlighted. We have donated as a company over $9.7 million to date, locally and globally. And this is our most recent, 9.7 is our most recent update to over 42,000 different nonprofit organizations. Wow. So like Diana was saying, like I love using this platform to be able to share. And over the years, people have connected me with, I have a friend who has a child that's going through this. Do you know anything? I've seen you share about pandas. And I would say, connect them with me. That's why I'm sharing and I'm doing this. Connect them with me. And many times I direct them to Pandas Network on Facebook, pandasnetwork.org. And, I always say, like, I'm here to support and listen. I'm not a doctor, but here are some resources that might help speed up your process. So through One Hope Wine, our main pillars of giving are for clean water, ending hunger, health, and education initiatives. But in addition, 10% also goes to these incredible causes through this event. So thank you for sharing that, Zach. What you see on the screen are the two fundraising links for the month of May. The top one is for Pandas Network. You can either take out your cell phone, hold up your camera right to that QR code. It will take you right to the fundraising link. Or if you prefer typing it in, it's right underneath there, onehopewine.com/event/ and that 6-digit code. Right underneath is Pieces of Me Foundation. Same thing with the QR code, and they have a unique link as well with the 6-digit code that will take you right to the fundraising link for Pieces of Me.
And the gift boxes are really beautiful.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
They really are. And fun to get in the mail. And
and shipping is fast. I always say it's a great way to pour a glass of wine and know that you're doing, some good at the same time. And Zach, I don't know if you have any wine on deck for yourself tonight, but I thought briefly introducing our new wine collection would be really fun. And if you're not opening a bottle, I'm not telling you.
How many bottles do you have there?
I actually hate to say it, Stephanie, but with the head issues I've had today, probably not a good idea to drink, but these are what we are going to be talking about. And hopefully the second half show, we will be, I will be sampling them, and there's an easier way for us to see them. There we go.
What's with the pretty ladies on the bottles?
Yeah, so I'm going to dive right in. So Her Story is our new wine collection. It's our newest Italian collection that literally just launched the first of this month. So what is Her Story collection? The Her Story collection is made of 3 Italian wines created to honor women throughout history who have made significant contributions to society. The collection was founded by a group of female entrepreneurs who are passionate about both wine and women's history. So her story offers 3 types of Italian wines: the Primitivo, the Rosato, and the Prosecco. But we're going to start with the Prosecco, which is the bubbly. Zach, if you don't mind flipping to that one. Yay, thank you. So Prosecco is a type of sparkling wine that's produced in the Veneto region of Italy using the Galera grape varietal. It's known for its crisp and refreshing taste. The Her Story Prosecco is a crisp and refreshing sparkling wine with notes of green apple, pear, and citrus. And some suggested pairings for this wine would be a fruit and cheese plate, seafood chowder, lemon cake. Think light, fun, bubbly. It's really refreshing for this time of year.
Do I chill this one, Stephanie?
Yes, you want to make sure you're serving that cold. Good question. Thank you for that, Zach. But if you like bubbles, it's delicious. It's light, and it's fun. It's a bit different than our other Prosecco. I will admit, because these are new and I like to know what's going on. My neighbor loves me, you guys, because I opened these bottles of wine. I took this much out of it just to know. I'm expecting a baby, Daniel. So I'm not drinking wine, but needed to know exactly what it tasted like so I can talk about it and explain it better when people ask. And I've been sending bottles to her doorstep across the road. So she's been really enjoying, being my neighbor lately. So that is our bubbly. Next up is the Rosato, which is a type of Italian rosé wine that is produced using red grape varietals, but with a shorter maceration period than red wine. So usually they don't leave the skins on it too long, but it's just enough to get the pink color in there. The resulting wine is light and refreshing with a delicate flavor profile. The Her Story Rosato is a light and refreshing wine with delicate flavors of strawberry and raspberry with a hint of citrus. Suggested pairings for this wine would be a prosciutto pizza and lemon rosato.
I'm getting really hungry. Sorry.
So
Keep going.
just to let you know, this is the one that was in my fridge. This is the one I was going to drink today.
Well, I expected that one to be sweet, honestly, and it's light, crisp, and delicious. It's not. I wouldn't say it's sweet, but seeing like the strawberry and raspberry, I wasn't sure, how sweet it would be. But I would say it's delicious. It's not like our other rosé wines. They all kind of have a little bit different in flavor, which varies depending on where the grapes are grown. So makes sense.
I saw cherry candy and I'm like, yeah.
And then last but certainly not least is the Primitivo, which is a red wine grape that is primarily grown in southern Italy, specifically in the region of Puglia. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, though I am Italian. The wine produced from this grape is known for its full body and rich flavors, which with hints of spice and black pepper. 1968 DNA testing revealed that Primitivo and Zinfandel are the same grape varietals. So that's a little fun fact in there. The Her Story Primitivo is a full-bodied wine with rich fruit flavors such as blackberry and plum with hints of spice and black pepper. Some suggested pairings for this would be lamb and pasta puttanesca. So I know we started off listening to Zach and the delicious dinner he was making, and now we're talking food again. I haven't eaten yet either. So
yeah, you got green chili and now all these wonderful wines, and I love seeing the cherry in all of them. So
yeah, well, I can't wait for you to sample it, Zach, and hear your feedback on what you think. But the Her Story collection is an exclusive collection. So this collection is exclusive to Wine Club members. However, if you've watched the show before, if you sip and gift throughout the year, Wine Club, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't cost anything to join. You save with discounts on your wine purchases and get 3 to 5 day shipping to your doorstep. I know Diana can attest to that. It's pretty fast. And it's totally flexible with quantity and frequency. 4 or more bottles of wine, the more you buy, the more you save. Think of it as like the Amazon subscribe and save for wine. You get all the perks and there's no cost to be a member. So
do you have a special Mother's Day wine?
We do have a happy
Daniel
Mother's Day.
For me,
we have a bubbly. Yeah. That's shimmer etched for Mother's Day. And there's still time. Tomorrow's the last day for guaranteed delivery. I always like to say guaranteed delivery is usually extended a little bit just in case FedEx drops your box or something. It gives our support team to get you the bottle still in time for the occasion. But yeah, we do have a shimmer etched Happy Mother's Day bottle that is beautiful and it's a fun bubbly, brunch, dessert time, celebration, all the things.
Thank you.
And one of the greatest things that I always like to bring up, Stephanie, you can't do this all alone.
No, it takes.
You do a damn good job, but you can't do it all alone.
It takes a village. So, if you're watching this, just sharing it around and sharing these foundations, is huge, and it costs nothing. You can shop to support these organizations through this event. You can actually, once this event is over, what I love is that you can select your cause of choice within your account with One Hope. And anytime you purchase wine or a gift, your donation is going to your cause of choice always. So I love that. So we don't have to have this event open and going on in order for you to give back to your favorite organization. If there's a cause that you're super passionate about, or a foundation that's doing really great work, of course, Zach and I are always looking to connect with nonprofit organizations that, we can help share their story. So that is another way to make an impact. But I am not the only cause entrepreneur in the US. We're always looking for more people that want to make an impact through wine. And do what I do year round, raising money for causes. So
yeah, she's not the only one. She's just the most important one.
She's the goddess of wine. The goddess of the grape.
Yeah, the goddess of the grape. The goddess of the grape, Stephanie Samos. So we love that. You see, look at this. I've even got it here. Ta-da! So,
there it is. Thank you, Zach.
I've even got it for her. So it pops up right there. So, Diana, you were mentioning something. We've got a little bit of extra time here. My 6 o'clock people are not here yet, so we can talk a little bit more. If you love the personal touch on what you do, you mentioned to me the other day that you love being able to reach out and make sure Stephanie's doing okay and make sure that all the other people that you work with are doing okay. What is it about being able to do that brings you the biggest joy, or brings you, is it just being a support system, or is it just?
Well, I guess it's like Daniel was saying, everybody has different abilities, and I am very bad at math.
Yeah.
And, I was an actress for a long time. I like to for many years in my life. And I just personally like to talk to people, and I'm really interested in human beings. Maybe I should have been a sociologist. And, I don't know. It's just really gratifying to talk to people and see that they're healing. And, I think too, like, I was lonely a lot of part of my life when I was a child. My father, who was a doctor, had some version of Tourette's, neurological issues and anxiety issues, although he was a really good doctor. And I watched him be lonely a lot and be very intelligent, but be lonely a lot emotionally. So I have a lot of sympathy for people who feel lonely. I think a lot of people feel suicidal because they're lonely a lot. Our culture doesn't help people very well yet not feel lonely. And especially after this pandemic, boy, did we notice how isolation can affect people. So Pandas Network has actually become like a way of life for me. Maybe I'm healing my wounds, watching my father be isolated emotionally. So I love helping people because I know that I feel less alone, and children are our future. And people like Daniel, I mean, you were describing, Daniel, what you went through from the ages of 7th grade to 11th. That's just nuts. That shouldn't happen in our society. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, but I just have a great deal of concern about it. And it's something we should change in our society. We shouldn't have that.
Yeah, I
Isolation.
completely agree. And, that's the part that, we don't often talk about, or even I don't often talk about it as part of my story, which was, there was a lot of academic lapse that occurred as I was out of school, but the social impact was probably even greater because there's wasn't a lot of contact. And I mean, even in the public school days, there was me with my glasses that were about as thick as my finger, trying to fit in among all of the quote unquote normal kids. And we'll just say it didn't always end well. But even fast forwarding into adulthood, my journey to law school, the people coming to me and saying, look, you really ought to apply for law school. You've got what it takes to do it. That came about a month after my divorce was finalized. And about 6 weeks after, about 8 or 10 weeks after I was, started recovering from a major hip and femur surgery. And, a lot of what I've done kind of goes back to that point of, on one hand, there's a lot of work involved and, building an organization from the ground up during the pandemic, because we officially incorporated on April 25th of 2020. Great time to watch anything.
Yeah.
That was difficult, but at the same time, I found a new sense of purpose through that process. I was able to navigate being in Maryland, where I didn't have any family and had some law school friends, but that was about it. It helped me, finding that purpose, finding that drive really helped me, and still helps me combat that loneliness, because you're right. It is something that's not well dealt with in our society. And, I got some advice from a therapist a couple of years ago with regard to dealing with my loneliness and depression and anxiety, of, rather than focusing on that, find something good to do for somebody else. It's not going to take it all away, but it's going to at least reframe that perspective. And I'm certain, at least in my case, that's true.
Stephanie, I'm gonna bring into a little bit of footprints here about what we're talking about, and I guess this is a question I'd like to hear all three of you guys your opinion on this. What the hell is it going to take for people to understand that just because someone is different doesn't mean they're less valuable? Okay. When it comes to it, and this is the reason I ask this, if I ever run into anybody who's just like me, I am not going to like that person. I'm not going to like that person at all. Okay. I know me. Okay. I'm not the nicest person in the world all the time. So anybody who I meet that's just like me, we're probably not going to be good friends. What is the problem? What is everybody's problem with people being different? We cannot all be the same person.
so Zach gets really passionate about this, and so I'll share really fast, because Diana mentioned mental health and suicide and isolation and all these things that, you know, I can understand, especially parents having PTSD and all kinds of things when they're on edge with their child around the clock, right? Not sleeping well, all these symptoms all of a sudden, all of that. Zach started a few years ago a 22-hour podcast around veteran suicide, but has now gathered a group of volunteers for a weekly show highlighting the problems with suicide all around, not just with veterans, but just with people that are really struggling. And
isn't it greater than gun violence in America? Like the number of suicides is higher than the rate of gun.
In 2020, the statistic is 1 in every 11 seconds. So Zach is very passionate about this, as you can tell, and he's, rallied a group together, and people are coming forward wanting to share their story. And the goal is to really provide resources to people who know someone who needs help, so that they have somewhere to go. And I think that even from my perspective, going through this as a parent, there was a time where I wasn't sure where to go, and some people can really get into their head about that, like Diana mentioned, look at how expensive it was to treat her children.
Mm-hmm.
People are losing their homes over, getting medical help for their child. And it just shouldn't be. Like, flaws in the system. I know we talked about flaws in perception tonight. There's just so many things. So anyway, if either of you know of anybody who has a story to share, we'd love to talk to them. That is a different show than this one.
Is it veterans only, Zach, or?
No. The show that we do on February 22nd will be veteran only, but this new show is about everyone, because the statistic that Stephanie shared, we lost one person every 11 seconds by the end of 2020 to suicide. 47 veterans every day is drastic. Losing one person every 22 seconds is, that's just, and Diana, the truth is that 3 weeks prior to me doing my 22-hour podcast this year, I had a relative who took her own life.
Oh,
and it was very, very hard for me to go through with that show, and try to keep my chin up, as hard as it is to try to keep your chin up when you're talking about people taking their own lives. But it's such an important thing that we just want to make sure that people understand. Look, it doesn't matter how you feel like you're going to heal. We want to offer people who are there who can provide that for you, because look, Daniel, you're not gonna heal the same way I heal. You're Diana, you're not gonna heal the same way I heal. We're all gonna heal different. We want to make sure that we're talking to people all over the world that, it doesn't matter what they do. The kumbaya circles, or sitting around and talking, or medications. Whatever is your thing, we want to make sure that we've got it out there. This is a perfect example of parents who, look, being a parent nowadays is a hell of a lot harder than it's ever been before, because you don't know if you're sending your child off and never going to see him again. You just don't know. You don't know when you go to a store if that's the last time you're ever going to be seen.
Oh, because of gun violence?
Yeah, well, just because of mental illness, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of gun violence, but I mean, look, there's people running people down in cars. There's people, I mean, there's just, there's really not an answer for any of that, right now, because let's be honest here, a criminal's not going to give up their guns if you mandate that guns are got to go. Okay. You're not going to get criminals going to be lining up going, you know what? I was going to go out and shoot a dozen people, but you said, hand over my gun. Here's my gun. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
So you meant society at large is having so much
Society at large. And yeah, and that's why I was thinking that, you know, that's why I was asking the question about why can't people get it in their heads that we don't need people to be just like us. Daniel, with you and your differences, they're not disabilities. Yeah, you have things that you have to do differently. You know, that doesn't make you an alien. It makes you a person that does things different than me. I don't see a different person when I look at you. I see a person. That's what is it going to take?
Interesting.
What is it going to take for people to start looking like that? And like I said, I'm not a hippie. I'm not one of these, you know, I love everyone. I'm a biker. There's a lot of people I don't like.
Wait a minute. Do bikers don't like people? Wait,
yeah,
another call about that one.
Sometimes only when they drive, you know, vehicles with four wheels usually, but you know, so but yeah, why, Daniel, what have people told you? What have you learned about that?
You know, I think there's a discomfort as well with broaching the subject of any kind of difference, and I think oftentimes there's, you know, do we even address the elephant in the room, or do we, you know, what terminology do we use? So many artificial things that have kept us from connecting as humans, and you know, that's what I think is one of the critical points here is saying, look, you know, we need to stop assuming that if something comes out indelicately or in a way that triggers something within us, that it was done with malice. And, you know, on the other side of that coin, you know, if somebody says something to me that you see that knee-jerk reaction of it just brought something back in my past from what I've been through, you know, let's talk about extending some grace or saying, I don't know what happened, but, you know, we're humans. We say things that don't always come out right. We hear things that are not, you know, that are not received the way that they were intended to. And I think a lot of it comes down to let's stop assuming the worst about each other.
Could and I know that this is going to be a word that's going to drive everybody crazy during this election. Could the woke mob be one of the reasons why you know, you've really got to step around what you say to people, because if you say something wrong, there's going to be somebody standing over you with a baseball bat and they're going to punch you over the head every time, you know.
But,
you don't
wait
mean
a minute. I'm part of the woke mob. I consider myself to be a part of the woke mob. So I think it's bad people on either side.
I think that either way you can just overdo it. I really do, because like Daniel was saying, if you're sitting there and you're going to, you know, you're going to say that somebody, you know, is with lack of a better word here, blaspheming against somebody, and that's not what you intend on doing, you know. You know, that's not what you intend to do. That doesn't make you it truly doesn't make you a bad person. Yet right now people are kind of, you know, we're in this, well, I can't believe you said that, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty,
you know, Diana, and you'll understand this, being a small business person, you can no longer have an opinion. You can't have an opinion, because if that opinion gets out, it could cost people who follow you. And that's what scares me to death, is because I've always been opinionated. Not any, well, I still am. It's just you guys don't hear it. You know? Stephanie does. I sometimes, but if Stephanie ever gets mad at me, I'm in trouble. So
I don't think she will.
And I think there's a critical distinction here of saying, let's say Zach says something that rubs one of us the wrong way. Sorry, Zach, I'm going to pick on you because we're friends now.
No.
And there's such a difference here between saying, Zach, you said XYZ, you ignorant biker, you're canceled, versus saying, Zach, when you said this thing, this is how I received it, and this is why this matters. And I realize the latter approach seems a little hippie and seems very soft, but if you think about it, it really isn't. It's still insisting on changing the problem, but it does so in a way where the message is actually going to resonate. I'm not, personally as an advocate, I'm not here to see how many scalps I can get. I'm here to see, can I make my advocacy work as efficacious as possible? And that means bringing people in and making allies, not scalping people.
I was going to say also, I think in advocacy, what I found is that, like, I live in a really liberal, very affluent area in Silicon Valley. It's netzoid. It's extreme wealth and extreme liberalism. I'm a moderate and not wealthy. But anyways, I've found that in advocacy, there is an attractive quality because you're fighting for the underdog, or me as a mother, I had to fight for the rights for my kids to get medicine, and it's stressful and painful. I'll be kind. It's painful for people to listen to my story, and they're busy and they're watching their watch and they got their own bills to pay and their own kids to pay. So to find, or kids to take care of, or whatever, businesses to run. So it's a really tough area to create. What Daniel's doing with these chat groups and you're doing, Zach, are exactly what's needed, because people don't want to listen. They've got their own burdens, and hearing a painful story is time consuming and they don't know what to do. So they just walk away. It's tough. It's hard work dialoguing and trying to figure things out.
Well,
hard work.
Going ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say, so I mentioned that 2 of my 3 kids were had cancer that they inherited from their mother. They were born with it, or at least my daughter, our oldest child, was born with it. And you can
cancer?
Yeah. And so we were treating within 2 weeks of her being born. Now, the thing of it is, that it's more astonishing is, because my ex-wife is also blind, we had all kinds of hurdles we had to overcome just by virtue of the misconceptions the medical staff had prior to her being born and shortly thereafter, that presented just as much of a hurdle as beating the cancer itself. We literally, despite having changed all the diapers successfully, despite my daughter nursing successfully, us demonstrating we knew how to do all these things, we had child protection beat us home from the hospital with a referral that simply said parents are blind. So we had to deal with that and pray that the CPS worker actually meant what she said when she said, "This is ridiculous, I'm on your side." And oh, by the way, we have a whole other new hospital we have to deal with. And, trying to navigate all of these things while constantly looking over our shoulder and saying, we don't know if this nurse, this doctor, this social worker is friend or foe, because we just got burned and we lost our kid, which would have led to her death because these ignorant people would not listen and would not learn about how blind people parent. But I made a decision a while back, and I said, I can hold on to that and I can continue to be angry about it, or I can remember that and remember it's still happening today, but forgive the people involved and move on, and at least in that vein, not for their benefit, they don't know one way or the other, but because it's going to bring me peace and because it's going to make me a better advocate. Because then I can say, look, this is happening right now, but we can change it, and we can do so in a way that brings knowledge and not vitriol. But it's a really hard thing to do. But it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about talking about this, because it's not something that is often brought out into the open.
You know, Stephanie, what he was just talking about, that's something that you and I heard when we were interviewing people who take care, caregivers, is that, you know, every once in a while, parents just get so overwhelmed with things that they're wondering, oh my God, who's going to say that I'm a bad mother? Who's going to say that we're doing wrong with our kids? That's exactly what, you know, what he experienced, is that, you know, and that to me, like I said, Daniel, that to me, what happened to you should have never happened. Because you don't have sight doesn't mean you can't be a parent. Okay. uh that's just, I know people with plenty of sight that shouldn't be parents. You know, I, I know a lot of people that have all their facilities that should not be parents. And for, you know, for them to be coming after you and your ex-wife because you were both blind, that's just, that's wrong. It's just wrong. So, but Stephanie, you and I did hear stories about stuff like that, and you see the coalition here, don't you?
Yeah, so much.
Coalition's wrong word, but
Yeah.
you see the similarity here.
I think you know, what we're doing right now with spreading awareness and just speaking out about what's going on, and, you know, what these organizations are doing is huge. Because now we have a place to direct people to if they have questions, like, hey, watch the show, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the common theme is, you know, among all of this, even our other weekly show that we're doing to help support people with, you know, mental struggles, is you're not alone. You know, it was great to find a community of parents that were facing similar things. You know, you're not alone, and this is what's going on here. What's going on with you? What are you doing to help? Is it working? Is it not working? You know, because I'm sure Diana will tell you too, it's not just a cookie cutter one way of treatment. Every child is a little bit different. Their journey is a little bit different. And I'm just grateful that you guys are here and that you shared about this.
I really think it's kind of one of those things, Stephanie, that, you know what, you sit there and you can see somebody shaking their head, you know, when something's going wrong, and your first action is like going, what the hell does this person know? And then you come to find out they're like, I get it. I get what you're going through. My child is the same. You know, my child might not be the exact same, but we've got the same thing there. And they start telling you your story. And I'm getting chills just talking about this, because this happened to me just recently, when they're like going, look, you know, I understand your situation completely, because my child goes from, you know, nice, calm, clean to you know, in an instant. And it kind of makes you just, it helps you personally, because you beat up on yourself all the time. You're like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here? You know, so, and, you know, me, I volunteered for it, so that's even worse. You know, I'm like, wait a minute, I couldn't take care of myself. What am I trying to take care of someone else for?
Being a parent is very challenging on a lot of levels. So I think the only way to do it is to keep talking, dialogue. If every community had like a dialogue circle at the library, you know, that they knew was for whatever, once a month, we'd probably be a much healthier society.
I 100% agree with you. I don't want to keep you all night, even though I'm loving this conversation. Diana, they can get a hold of you by going to your website, which is www.pandasnetwork.org. That's
Right.
Pandas. Now, I love that bear. Pandasnetwork.org. By the way, I've got my polar bear. That's what they call me. That was my writing name, so I got polar bears all over my desk. So, because I'm that guy that I would rather ride when it's 40 degrees out than when it's 80. Okay, I was on my motorcycle when it was 40 degrees. I was more comfortable. So, but
So you're polar bear. Got it.
yeah. So when I first met my president of the VFW Warriors, he looked at me and he said, "Boy, you must have polar bear blood in you." It
There you
sucks.
go.
So, but that's what you get when you ride up to your motorcycle and it's snowing outside on your motorcycle and it's snowing outside. People look at you a little funny. So,
Yes.
but pandasnetwork.org. Diana, any last words that you would like to share with people?
Just check out our website, look at our wonderful new research under clinical research button, and we have events. We have an event coming up in May and again in June to talk about this new research, and hope is on the way. We're making breakthroughs, and the next part is to help society accept our kids as they're sick and as they're healing, just exactly like what Daniel's talking about. Stay tuned for things to come.
Well, Diana, as before, I enjoyed this conversation just as much. And I look forward to having more conversations with you as time goes on.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to working with you guys more and learning a lot more and finding out how we can support you.
Thank you.
And Daniel, they can get a hold of you at piecesofme.org. And that is pieces as in peace, bro. We've been talking about hippies. So there we go. Piecesofme.org.
Very nice.
And what would be your parting shots? What would you like to say?
We are a community where everyone is welcome. So come take part in it and let's go change the world together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so very much. You guys did such a wonderful job. Just remember, Stephanie, can you please explain what we're looking at?
Absolutely. So if you are not a part of our Facebook group, Community Pay It Forward One Hope Fundraiser on Facebook, jump on there. We are highlighting these incredible organizations each month. You'll be able to find, some fun recipes and wine pairings and some more information about the organizations each month there. But what's on your screen is the direct fundraising link for the fundraiser for Pandas Network and also for Pieces of Me Foundation. You can either type the event link into your browser or just hold your camera up to those QR codes and it will take you right to the fundraising page. And what is on your screen is my link tree. Those links are also on my link tree. So if you want to visit me there, all my socials are there. You can connect with me, on social media, Instagram, all the things, and the fundraising links and the Community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraiser is right at the top of that page.
Well, once again, we had to throw it out there. It's the goddess of the grape. That's Stephanie Samos. And we're getting pretty close to where we got to be on the Stephanie watch, aren't we?
Yeah, I am due at the end of next month. So I told Zach, as long as I'm not in the hospital, I will be here. But, second half of June might get a little sticky and not quite sure, when this little girl's going to decide to make her grand appearance. So
exciting.
Well, Stephanie, did you want to go on ahead and run through the wines one more time real quickly, or do you got to run?
Yeah, no. So definitely check out the Her Story collection. You know what, Zach? I actually have the bottles here too. So if you want to take take a break. I know you've been prompting and showing photos, but here is the Prosecco.
I don't look like a drunk or nothing.
Here is the Rosado and the Primitivo I also have here as well. Like I said, Wine Club is really the best deal. And truthfully, you can set the frequency for as little or as often as you would like, depending on, how often you sip and gift and give. So really just a fun way to support your favorite cause.
I want to thank all three of you guys. You guys, again, this is, these shows are so important because of the work that you guys do. And we want to make sure that we find solutions for the saying, I wish I knew about you before ... We can only do that when you out there help us. Tell people about the great work that Diana's doing. Tell people about the great work that Daniel's doing. Tell people about the great work that Stephanie's doing, all the work that she's doing, and all the people that she's fundraising for. There's so many of them. So when we tell you, tell 3 or 4 other people, that, look, if every time one of us told 5 more, nobody would be left in the dark and people would have somewhere to go. These are serious issues that are going on, and these are issues that people are learning more and more about every day. Let's make sure that we give them a chance to stay up to date on it. Let's make sure that if somebody's got a child that could possibly be suffering, we have a way to help them out. Let's make sure that we support Daniel in making sure that, as he said, we all do this. We all do this together, because no person can do this on their own. So
thank you so much.
Well, Diana, thank you. Stephanie, thank you, my dear. Daniel, my brother, thank you. I hope you guys all have a great day.
Take care. Thanks a lot.
Right. Yep.
We'll
Goodbye.
see everybody mid-month.
Yep. See you all in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thanks. Take
Bye
care,
now.
guys.
Hi.
Well, again, just I can't say enough about the work that they're doing. Okay. I mean, these are some of the things. And one of the great things about what I like, what Stephanie and I started here, was that these are things that people don't hear about. This isn't always, and no disrespect to breast cancer. Okay. We understand that, but this isn't Susan G. Komen. This isn't Wounded Warrior. These are small groups where there's feeling in every single one of them. Every nonprofit was started because of a reason. Every nonprofit, including Susan G. Komen, including Wounded Warrior. Look, every nonprofit is started from a bad place. It is. Nobody starts a nonprofit because they're sitting there going, oh, I got a couple $1 million out. What the hell? Let's throw it towards something. That's not how it goes. Somebody's personally touched by something. Okay. So again, Daniel, Diana, Stephanie, as always, thank you, my dear. I greatly appreciate it so much. Hey guys, we've got a lot of people who are reaching out to us. Right now, there's things going on with the government repealing a lot of the food assistance and stuff like that. And I thought it would be a great time to take and just give you guys a couple ideas on what to do to help your local food bank. One of the best places to go is feedingamerica.org/find your local food bank. And you can find, well, obviously you can find your local food bank. Shocking, huh? Right? No, name doesn't say everything there. Go to this website, find your local food bank, volunteer, donate, or utilize them if you need. There's no reason for you to have to go hungry if you need food. The food banks are there to try to help people. Hey, look, it's not always the best, look, you're not going to pull up and you're not going to get filet mignon. So don't think you are, don't expect it, and you won't be disappointed. Okay. But if it's the difference between, your kid going hungry tonight or going to the food bank, go to the food bank, man. It's what they're here to do. They love supporting us as people. We have at Community Dare to Care, we have been partnered with the Weld County Food Bank for quite a while. We were giving away Christmas and Thanksgiving boxes. And as soon as we're able to get our 501c3 back, we'll be doing it again. But for 20 years, we gave away, hundreds of food boxes for every Thanksgiving, every Christmas. I cannot wait till we're able to get back to doing that. But one of the things that we like to do, and I always suggest to you guys to always carry like an extra hoodie in your car, because, the elements kill. Doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. If you get too damn cold, you're going to die. You're going to be affected negatively. Keep an old hoodie that you can't fit into anymore. Keep it in your car. You know what? You see somebody struggling, give it to them. You have any extra food, zap it in the old nukerator, in the old nuke box, whatever the hell you want to call it. Try to come up with some funny name yourself, because I'm like drawing a blank right now. But, throw it in the microwave, heat it up. Take it to somebody who's struggling with hunger. There's plenty of people out there right now. There really are. Okay. And who knows? You might be the key to them getting out of their situation. You never can tell. You never can tell. So please take and do that. Some of the foods that your food bank most needs are peanut butter, canned soup, canned fruit, canned vegetables, canned stew, okay, this one's going to make me kind of a little bit, but canned fish. Never mind. I love tuna. So, canned beans and pasta. Most prefer whole grain pastas or brown rice. But here's the truth. If it's food, they need it. If it's food, it's edible, share it. I know one of the things that we do is we try to hold back food here at the house, just in case somebody calls and they say, hey, can you guys help us? Of course, that really helps out a lot when they come to pick it up, but whatever. Look, like I was saying before, money is king. Okay. Everybody's needing money. You cannot run a nonprofit without money. You just can't do it. It's impossible. You're not able to get out of a bad situation without money. You just can't do it. You need money to live. That's a lesson that we learn young. It's a lesson that's not going to go away anytime soon. That's just kind of the way it is. But money is not the only way that you can help people. We're all strapped right now. Money is hard to come by. I wish it wasn't, but money's really hard to come by. A smile is not. Joking around with somebody when you see them all stressed out in a store, pretty easy to do. I've told the story many times. I'll have like 3 or 4 candy bars. Oh, or donuts or something sitting there, and then I'll take and I'll grab my soda. And no, we're not sponsored by Diet Pepsi, so I shouldn't do that. But what the hell? I drink a lot of it. I should own the damn company. And I'll just look back at somebody and I'll say, yeah, I got to watch my girlish figure. It makes them laugh. It kind of makes them forget about what's going on. And that's not a bad thing. At least not all the time. Asking somebody or giving them, somebody's looking for directions or looking for a little bit of hope, just kind words. They don't kill people. It's not going to kill you to give it to them. We were talking about, I posed the question, what do we have to do to make it to where people understand each other a little bit more? What about learning about each other, So your religion's not what I grew up with. Doesn't make you a bad person. You've got long hair and you got no hair or whatever. Doesn't make you a bad person, just makes you different. Every single one of us is different. Every single one of us has a difference that makes us who we are. Our thoughts are our own. Our thoughts aren't always they're not always popular. Boy, we're learning that one right now, huh? But your thoughts, as long as they're not ill-intended, they shouldn't be your downfall. Now, some people are just out there way overdoing it. I mean, there's without a doubt, there's some of that out there. But I mean, look, let's really try working with each other. Okay. Try learning about each other. You guys saw Daniel, blind since he was born. It doesn't make him any different. It just makes him a person. He's a person who has to do things a little bit differently than I have to do. They say that we all put our pants on one leg at a time. Well, that's not always true. I mean, it's just not. But the thing is that hopefully we're all wearing pants. It doesn't matter how you put them on as long as you're wearing them, right? We've got to a point now where not accepting people for who they are. Look, we don't have to agree with it. We don't have to agree with it. But the first question you got to ask yourself, does it affect you? Does it personally affect you? If the answer to that question is no, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Unless you want to support. If you want to support somebody, find out what they need and support them. Don't force a solution on people. I think we've lost our way when it comes to freedom. And I think that we've lost our way when it comes to other people's freedom. Everybody wants it how we want it. It's not the way it's meant to be. Okay. In a negotiation, the best negotiation, nobody wins. Nobody gets everything that they want. We're being ran right now by people who think that that's not the way it's supposed to be. We don't have to follow their example. It's one of the reasons why we do what we do, so we can be here for each other. I do not have to believe everything that Stephanie believes. I'm still going to love her as a person. I'm still going to respect her as a person. I'm still going to support her as a person. She does not have to believe everything I believe. For it to make any difference. Again, if you're a person who's just like me, we're probably not going to get along very well. We have changed our time on Friday. Community Impact is now at 6 p.m. East, 4 p.m. Mountain. That was because I was running out of time, so couldn't do things and get it out on time. It's also went back to a 1-hour show. So, it's probably going to be recorded more often than not, but we're going to start bringing back some of the old interviews. So you're going to see me back from all kinds of different places, but it's going to be a show. But if you have an event that's coming up, please make sure that you share it with us and we can invite you on and you can tell people about it. Say you got a weekend event. Tell us about it. For a $25 donation, you can tell us about it and we'll bring you on and you can tell the world and hopefully we can get you some supports. Some support. I'm not sure if you need supports, but some support. Community Pay It Forward. At Community Pay It Forward, 80% of any referral, at least 80% of every referral by one of our partners is allocated to communities in need. With just a few clicks, you can make a difference in your community just by shopping. Go to communitypayitforward.us, communitypayitforward.us, and hover over the button, Find a Partner. You hover over that, and what it's going to do is it's going to show a couple things there. You've got your verified giving partners and your sponsors, and then you've got your mission partners. Your mission partners are organizations like two that you just learned about tonight, Pieces of Me and Pandas Pandas Project. So just make sure that you go to them and find out who you want to support, shop with a partner, turn in a receipt. When you turn in that receipt, at least 80% of what they give us goes to the mission that you choose to support. I once again, as always, I want to thank Stephanie Simos. Go to her link tree, find out anything and everything about her. She's wonderful, 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 wonderful person. She works so hard to help others. So let's help her out. As she said, she's about ready to have a baby at the end of next month. So let's be supporting her and wishing her all the best luck. I would also like to thank Diana from www.pandasnetwork.org, pandasnetwork.org. If you've never heard about pandas, please check it out. Find out what's going on. Do you have a child that may be a little bit difficult? Maybe. You never know. Maybe it could have just been misdiagnosed as a kid. Take a look, www.pandasnetwork.org. I also want to thank Daniel for joining us from piecesofme.org. Again, supporting others by telling others that you're there. It's kind of the community pay it forward way. It's kind of our way. It's the reason why we're here. So, and I hate to do this. Hey, Chad, guess what, brother?
What's up?
I gave you the wrong damn time.
Oh.
So, but why don't we go on ahead and start it this next month? How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good, man. I'm
All
down.
right. Well, we're live right now, but let's tell people what we're talking about. This is Chad from Biocentric. Chad is going to be joining us once a month, and he is going to be doing a 30-minute healing session. He's going to teach you some naturopathic healing, and we're going to be starting this next month. And maybe next month I'll have my head out of my ass and I can give you the correct time. It sounds pretty good, huh? So
That sounds good.
But yeah, do me a favor, brother. I'm going to kick you back to the green room, but stick around and let's have a real quick conversation.
All right, sounds good.
So I'll be right with you.
Okay.
So,
thanks.
but yeah, please make sure that you check out Chad and Madeline there at Biocentric. You can always find them on communitypayupforward.us. Communitypayupforward.us. Just type in Biocentric and you're going to find them. Couple wonderful kids doing a lot of good. So it's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to be a new edition every month, and they're going to talk about healing the proper way. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight, for coming in and out. Thank you for everybody who's going to watch the replay. Please remember to love somebody out there, because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping anyone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Again, if you have an old hoodie, throw it in your vehicle. Man, it's not doing you any good. If I have an extra large hoodie, it ain't doing me any good except for making me look like a half-open can of biscuits. Okay? That's all it's doing. It's not, and it's definitely not doing you any good, me wearing that thing. Okay? So, but there's somebody out there that can really use it. If you got extra food, heat it up. Hand it off to somebody who needs it. My name is Zach Clayton. I'm president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I will see you next week.
Stepping out of her fear, bring me home. Out alone, show me the way. You wanna be a part of Sunset Boulevard.